Hi everyone, welcome back. Today is a very exciting video. We are going to be doing a declutter today. We are decluttering my primers, foundations, and concealers. So basically my top drawer of my makeup collection back here, which honestly is the drawer that's the heaviest and it has the most products in it. So it is in need of a declutter the most. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's definitely going to be a long video. So grab a snack. I am going to swatch as many things as possible. I'm going to give you my thoughts on as many things as possible in the hopes that it will help you in your purchasing decisions in the future. Just to get this out of the way, yes, I do have a large makeup collection. I like it that way. I like it that way. Makeup is my thing. It's also what I do as a job. I receive products in PR and I also buy makeup because I love it and I review it here on YouTube. So of course I have more makeup than the average person. I have more makeup than anyone needs, including you. So please don't tell me that I have too large of a makeup collection or that I'm a terrible person because I have a large makeup collection. The reason I say these things is because every year when I do these declutters, I get the comments. And let me tell you, if you want to get people going, post a makeup declutter on YouTube because every time some of these comments, honestly, I thought about not filming my declutter this year and just doing it on my own and not sharing it with you, but it seems kind of silly for me to do it when I have a YouTube channel about makeup, to not share the things that I'm decluttering and my thoughts on them and why I'm keeping something or I'm not. So we're gonna do it, and you know, if you don't like it, I'm very sorry, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And I think that's everything I wanted to say for today. I did not really have a goal or anything in these declutters. I just wanted to get rid of things that I know I don't like, I don't use, or are old. That was kind of my thought process in getting rid of the things that I did, but I'm not trying to do anything drastic. I did get rid of some products, but nothing crazy. So I think that's everything. If you are new, I hope you'll subscribe, stick around, and I hope you enjoy the declutter, and let's get into it. So we're gonna declutter this drawer today. In here we have primers, foundations, concealers, and color correctors. And this drawer by far is the one that's the most full of all my makeup collection. So this is the one that needs it the most. So this is what we're going to start with. And I'm going to take these things out one by one. I'm not going to do it from the drawer just because there's a lot in here and I want to do it category by category. So I'm going to take all the primers out, we'll do those, take the foundations out, and then the concealers and the correctors. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of where we're starting. I will count these up as well so that we know how many I have at the end and how many I started with. But this is what we're starting with, and we're going to get into primer first, which is right here. Then we'll do foundation and concealer. So let's get started. All right, let's get started with primer. Primer is a more manageable category, so I'm glad that we're starting with primer. I don't have an overwhelming amount of primers, but obviously I do still have a lot of primer. So let's get started. I don't really have a goal for this, but I do want to cut this down significantly just because a lot of these I really don't use. I would like to cut this in half, I guess. So we're starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm not counting these two little minis because those are just little sample sizes. Oh, and actually, I have 3 more in here. They're in my everyday makeup drawer. So technically 2 of these are like pigments. All right, so we've got 25 here, which is way too many primers. All right, I think I'm gonna start by picking the things that I know right off the bat that I'm keeping. So we're going to start with this. This is the Victoria Beckham Augustinus Bader Primer. This is the golden one. So there are two different ones. There's the original that has no color, and then this one that has like a bronzy tint to it. I'm probably not going to swatch every single thing, but I will swatch this one because it's so pretty. And this is just an absolutely beautiful, luxurious product. I love this. It gives a little bit of a golden tint, but it's not too much. It's not intense. It's very moisturizing. Obviously, it's that Augustinus Bader cream, that kind of texture. The packaging is nice. It's pretty, and I really enjoy this. So that is an obvious keep. All right, actually, I just found one more in my drawer, so starting with 26, I guess, but this is another obvious keep, the Tarte Pore Smoothing Primer. I love this. This is just a little mini one, and this is not something I use all the time, but when I really want smooth, perfected skin, when I'm doing a full face of makeup, I should say, for like a special occasion or something, this is something that I would use. So that is an easy keep. Another easy keep is this one, mainly because it's brand new to me, the Nars Light Reflecting Primer. This is basically like very similar, if you remember the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. This is that. It reminds me of that so much. It's very just kind of like a gel texture, and it gives just a little bit of a radiance to it. It's not glittery or anything, but it definitely gives you some glow and some hydration. But this is brand new to me, so that one I will definitely be keeping. Okay, another product I'm definitely keeping is the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation, but this is the white one. So basically this I use to make foundations lighter. So anything that's too dark, I can add a little bit of this white pigment and make it lighter. So this is a really handy thing to have, so that I absolutely want to keep, as well as the LA Girl Blue Mixing Pigment. So this helps with things that are too warm. This adds the blue color, which tones down the shade and usually will make it a little bit more neutral. So this is another really handy thing to have that I definitely want to keep. Other easy keeps, the MAC Studio Radiance Moisturizing and Illuminating Silky Primer. I just got this for a video. I will say this is very similar, not identical, but similar to that Nars Light Reflecting Primer. This one is not quite as glowy as that one. This one gives you more hydration, but the overall effect is pretty similar, and this is brand new, so that is a definite keep. I promise we're gonna get rid of some. I'm just getting the ones out of the way that I know are gonna stay. Let's talk about these. The Say Glowy Super Gel. I'm gonna get rid of these. These are not bad. So I have both shades. I have Sun Glow and the original one. Sun Glow is the more bronzy one. Star Glow is the original one that just gives you a lot of luminosity. These are okay, but I've never fallen in love with this formula, and I really wanted to, and they're not bad, but I will say a few days ago, I tried to use some of this. This is the Sun Glow color, which is like the bronzy color one. And first of all, it had a weird smell when I used it the other day. And it's just a little bit too orange. Like, I don't know if you'll be able to tell in the swatch, but for me, this gives a little bit too much color. That's why I like the Victoria Beckham one, because it gives that bronze tint, but it's not overkill. And I find that to be true with a lot of these like bronzing type products, at least for my skin tone. Obviously, it's going to depend on your skin tone. This would work well for someone that's darker than me, but someone that's my skin tone or lighter, this might be a little bit too much. And I used to use this, but I don't know. I guess I found other things like the Victoria Beckham that I like more. And these are also getting on the older side as well. The original one is my favorite of the two. but I have other glowy primers here we'll get to that I like more than this. So these two are gonna go from Say. All right, another primer I am gonna keep is this one from Rare Beauty. This is the Pore Diffusing Primer. This is, I would call it more of a smoothing primer. I don't know that I would call it pore diffusing. I would call something like this pore diffusing. This, I do think, really gives the skin an even, smooth canvas, but I don't know that it's the most pore blurring that I've ever tried. But I really do like this. I think this is one of the best primers I've tried, honestly. This type of primer, I should say, like a smoothing primer. I do really like this. I don't reach for it that often, but when I do, it wears beautifully underneath makeup, anything I've paired it with. So that I do want to keep. Okay, moving right along. Let's talk about these two, because these are basically the same product. I mean, they are very, very similar. Okay, this one, the Milk Hydro Grip. Does this work? Yes. If you need your makeup to last all day long, these grippy primers, they really do help and they do make a difference. This one, I don't use it though. I don't. This came to me in PR, but it was quite a while ago. And I don't even know. I almost wonder if it's gone bad or something because it looks a little bit questionable, but it does make a difference. It's just that I don't reach for this type of thing that often. And when I do, I've been using the e.l.f. one, to be honest. So Milk is gonna go. I think I will keep the e.l.f. Power Grip. I actually took this with me recently to New York City. I was there for a few days and it was so hot. It was incredibly hot. And I was doing my makeup pretty early in the morning and I really didn't come back or touch up or do anything to it all day long. So I used this pretty much every day I was there. And it did make a difference in keeping my makeup on and I was sweating. So I do think they work, just not something I reach for all the time, but I do really like the e.l.f. version. And like I said, I think my Milk one is old because I don't even remember when I got that in PR, but it's been a long time. So I'm gonna keep e.l.f. and declutter the Milk one. Then we have innBeauty Project Face Glaze. I have original and bronze. I am gonna keep these. These were both sent to me in PR. This bronze one is a little bit on the deep side, but I'll tell you what I like to do with this formula in particular. This is really nice mixed with moisturizer. This texture, because it is kind of like a gel moisturizer texture, it mixes really well with other moisturizers. So I am gonna hold on to this. I don't really use it much on its own like this. I like to mix it with something. Whereas like the Victoria Beckham, this one I can use on its own because it's the perfect amount of glow and moisture. But I do like the innBeauty Project one, so I'm gonna keep this and I'm gonna keep the original. This one is the same texture. It just gives glow and not any color, but I do like it. I think this is a nice product, so I will be keeping that as well. Okay, Makeup Forever, the redness corrector. I'm going to declutter this, number one, because it's old, and number two, I don't find that green primers do much of anything for my skin personally. I do have redness in my skin, but I don't ever find that these do enough to make it worth it to use something like this. So for that reason, I just don't use it, and it's definitely on the old side, so it's fine. If you like green primers, I do think this one is a nice one. I just don't personally find that they're that beneficial for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter that one. All right, let's talk about these, because as you can see, I have a lot of these glowy primers, or glowy, I don't even know that you would call these primers, but I'm putting them in the primer category. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. Okay, I'm only going to keep one of these, and I'm going to keep this one. This is shade number 3. I'm not keeping this one mainly because it's just too yellow. Every time I use it, it's just a little too warm, too yellow toned for me. Whereas number 3 is a little bit more of a peachy tone, and I find that this one blends out and looks a little bit better on my skin tone. So there is the peachy one, and there is the yellow one. I just prefer the more peachy one, so I'm gonna keep shade 3 and declutter shade 2. Okay, moving right along, I am also gonna keep this one from Dior. This is also pretty new to me, the Star Filter. This one is the shade number 2. I know there's been a lot of talk about this being very similar to this. I don't find the Dior to be as glowy as the Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury, but there's definitely similar. But this is very new. I want to keep using this and testing it. So that one I am going to keep. Now, let's talk about Flawless Filter. I'm trying to procrastinate on these because I know that I'm not going to keep all 4 of these. I went through a phase where I was obsessed with this product, and that's why I have 4 of them. But I don't even reach for this that much anymore, which is crazy to say because this used to be like my very, very favorite. So, all right, I have shade 2 and shade 3. Shade 3 is my favorite of the 2. Again, shade 3 is a little bit more peachy. Shade 2 is more warm, very yellow toned, and it's old. Like, do you see how it's all like rubbed off here? I've gotten good out of this, but it's time for that one to go. So I am going to get rid of that one. Then I have shade 2.5, which why I felt the need to buy 2.5, I don't know, guys. I really don't. So don't judge me. I wouldn't do it again, but here we are. So shade 2.5 is even more yellow than shade 2. And I just don't love that on my skin tone. I just find it looks off. And every time I use it, I wish that I didn't use that color. It's just too yellow. So I'm going to get rid of 2.5. And then I'm left with 4.5. Now this one, I can only use this when I have self-tan on, which I do not right now. But I do like the undertone of shade number 4.5. This one with self-tan is a really nice tone. Right now it's too dark, but typically if I have a self-tan on, this one works well. So I'm going to keep 4.5. And okay, I'm going to keep shade 3. I was not going to keep it and just keep this one because honestly, shade 3 in the e.l.f. and the Hollywood Flawless Filter, these are very similar. The e.l.f. has more pigment than the Flawless Filter. This one is more sheer, but the undertones are pretty similar on these. But I like both, and for video purposes, I'm going to keep both, but they are very similar to each other. I am going to declutter this mainly because it really does not serve a purpose for me. The Smashbox Primerizer. I have so many other things that are similar to this that I'm more interested in, like the MAC one or the new Nars Light Reflecting. So this, I'm just never going to use this, and I know it. So I'm going to declutter that. All right, I'm also going to declutter this, and it pains me to say this, but this is such a regret. I wish so badly I did not buy this. But I did. The V-Lighter from Valentino. It was expensive, and it's fine, but there is nothing special about this product. It's very scented. This one is the shade Rosa, which is the pinky toned one. And I mean, it's just a light pink moisturizer, basically, with like some pearlescence to it. It's not, I don't know, it's just not my favorite. Like you can see there, it's already like separated and got really gross. This is a major regret on my part. So if you're gonna get a glowy product like this, I wouldn't recommend this one. I don't think it's anything special. So I will be decluttering that. We have Jane Iredale Smooth Affair. I'm gonna declutter this one as well. Not because it's bad, but because this is not one I see myself reaching for. This was sent to me in PR a long time ago. And I think it's what's meant to go with the powder foundation from Jane Iredale, but I don't feel that it's like an essential step in using the Jane Iredale powder foundation, which I do love. But I feel like this is just a gel moisturizer, and it also has a fragrance that I'm not wild about, so I feel good about letting that one go. And then we're down to 2. So we've got Iconic London Underglow Blurring Primer. This one is most similar, I would say, to this Nars one, but this one does have just the slightest bit of a blurring quality to it. Now, it's not pore diffusing or anything like that, but it has this smooth texture and look on the skin that makes this one really unique, and it still has a little bit of a glow without being too much. So I still enjoy this. I'm gonna keep that one. And last, the Synchro Skin Soft Blurring Primer. Okay, I'm very undecided about this. I bought this because of Andrea Ali here on YouTube. She raves about this, and I've used it here and there, and it's nothing, there's nothing remarkable about it. Like, there's nothing that I can say, oh, like this does this really well. Like, it's nice. I do think it smooths the skin slightly, but not anything dramatic or super noticeable. But I kind of don't want to declutter it for some reason. So I won't. I'm not going to force myself to get rid of things if I don't want to get rid of them. So, all right, that is it for primer. Other than these two, this Milk Pore Eclipse Primer, this was a little sample that I got. This is like, if you need extreme pore smoothing, that's what this is from Milk. It's not something that I really need or use, but if that sounds like something you're interested in, this does do that, but I'm gonna get rid of this little sample. And then this RMS Re-Evolve Locking Primer. This I got in an order recently, and I want to keep testing this because I don't really know how I feel about this. So I will keep that sample. And that is it for primer. Let me tally these up and I'll tell you how many we're keeping and how many we are getting rid of. All right, so we're getting rid of these. We're getting rid of 11. 10 if you don't count this little mini one, but we'll say 11. So we're getting rid of 11. And we're keeping 17, which honestly is more than I was wanting to keep. I mean, technically 2 of them are pigments. They're not really primers. These are just mixers, but I keep them with my primer, so I'm counting them as primer. So we're keeping 17 and decluttering 11. All right, moving on to my foundations and skin tints. No, this is not all of them, but I'm trying to just do 2 rows that fit in the frame at a time, because if I try to lay it all out here, number 1, you won't be able to see everything, and number 2, it feels like way more overwhelming. So we're gonna start with these. Again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pick the things that I know are gonna stay first. Okay, Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer. Also, if I don't say what shade I am, I will list them in the description box. I may forget to say one, so look in the description box if I forget, but I'll try to say it. I'm not going to swatch every single one. I will probably swatch some of them, but I'm not going to promise to swatch every one, because if we do that, we will be here until Christmas. I'll do as many as I can. Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer. Holy Grail, number 1 skin tint foundation product. I love this so much. I have 1 in 2 and 2 in 1. 2 in 1 is truly like a perfect match for my skin if I am just like my natural skin tone and not self-tanned or anything. It is literally a perfect match. I can also get away with 1 in 2. It's just a little bit lighter than this one. But it's not that different from 2 in 1, but 2 in 1 is my definite match, but I would never get rid of those. So those have to stay. Also staying is this MAC Face and Body. This is the shade C2. I actually got a new one of these. I owned this years ago, and I ordered a new one when MAC had a 25% off sale recently. I ordered the shade C2. It's a decent match, but it's a little bit dark right now, and I have a little bit more color in my skin. I think it'll be a little bit better, but it's still a little bit dark and a little bit warmer than I would like, but I am going to keep it because I can definitely work with this, and it's new, so I'm going to keep that. Another obvious keep, Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Tint. I tried this a few months ago, and I absolutely love it. I wear the shade Medium Light in this, and this is perfect. I don't ever see myself being without this now that I've tried it, so that is an easy keep. As is the Le Beige Healthy Glow Foundation from Chanel. I tried this a few months ago and I love it. This is shade B20 and it's a pretty good shade for me. And if I don't have any color in my skin, like if I'm just my most pale, it's a hair dark, but with a lighter concealer, I can easily make this one work. But this is a gorgeous foundation. Very thin on the skin and surprisingly very long wearing. It does have some glow, but it's not too glowy. I love this. I always feel really good when I wear this, which I love. So that is an easy keep. Also, most of these in this first group here are going to be keeps. Just so you know, the next group's the one where we're probably going to get rid of some more, but these are pretty easy. Another definite keep, Makeup Forever HD Skin Hydro Glow. I have one in 06, two in 22. One in 06 is good for me when I don't have any tan and I'm just my natural skin tone. 2 in 22 is a good self-tan shade. Sometimes I mix them. So I'm going to keep both of these for sure. I love this formula. I will swatch this one for you because I do love this foundation. So we have one in 06 and two in 22. But this is a pretty glowy foundation, so I would not recommend this for extremely oily skin. I think if you have combo skin, you could probably get away with it, but if your skin's very oily, this is probably going to be too much for you. It's a solid medium coverage, hydrating, and surprisingly long wearing. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of the Chanel that I was talking about a minute ago, but I love this. Love this foundation. Highly recommend for anyone except very oily skin, but those are definite keeps for me. Two more that I'm definitely keeping. The Prada foundation. This was my number 2 foundation in my top 10 foundations and skin tints video. I love this. If I'm doing my makeup for a special occasion right now and I want it to look as good as it can, this is the one I'm reaching for. This foundation is different from the Chanel and the Makeup Forever because this one's more of a soft matte finish. This one is a good neutral undertone as well. This is LN15. When I don't have self-tan on, this is a very good shade for me. So this, I love everything about this. It's a soft matte formula, has a little bit of a glow, like just a slight glow, but if you pair it with something glowy, it can look glowier. If you don't, it's more of a soft matte finish, medium coverage, very smoothing on the skin. It never looks heavy. I actually took this with me to New York City a few weeks ago. I took this and my Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer and I mixed them one day. I wore them separately. I just love them. So that I will keep. I also have shade MN45. I only use this when I'm very self-tanned. So LN15 is better for me when I'm more fair. Now, a few of these might surprise you. I don't know. But okay, let's talk about MAC Studio Radiance. I'm going to keep one of these, this one in the shade N12. If you saw my full face of MAC, I was saying in that video, I ordered this shade because the shade I have is absolutely terrible for me. I cannot make this shade work. Even when I'm self-tanned in C17, I don't like it. It's too dark. The undertone is way, way off. Even when I'm self-tanned, I don't like this shade on me at all. And I do like the Studio Radiance formula, but I really like shade N12, so I guess I could keep NC17 and mix them, but I just feel like the undertone in NC17 is just not for me, no matter what I do with it. So I think I'm gonna declutter that one and keep N12. If you wanna see me use that, I use that in my Full Face of MAC that you just saw a few videos ago. Let's talk about these. So we have Gucci, I don't ever know how to say this, Eternité de Beauté, I don't know, Luminous Matte Foundation and Lancome Tint Idol Ultra Wear. Okay, these are both very full coverage. I do not wear full coverage very often. I mean, it would have to be for some type of special occasion or something. So I don't need both of these. And there's one that I like a lot better than the other one, and it might shock you. I like the Lancome, and I used to like the Gucci, but the Gucci, the last few times I have worn this, first of all, it oxidizes. It gets darker, which I try to avoid formulas that do that, especially if it's a full coverage. And I don't know, this is just not what I'm going for anymore. It's not a bad foundation at all. I think it's really pretty if this is what you're looking for. You want a lot of coverage. It's a matte, it's a soft matte finish. They call it luminous matte. I would just say it's a soft matte finish, but I just don't use it. I don't use it, and the times I haven't loved how it looked. So as sad as it is, I'm gonna get rid of that one because if I'm not using it, I'm not using it, you know? In Lancome, I have the shade 135N. And this is a very good shade match for me. It's very neutral, and this one does not oxidize. It's very similar to the Gucci, honestly. Maybe a little bit more matte than the Gucci, but they're very similar, and I prefer this one. So I'm gonna keep that one and declutter Gucci. I also have Lancome Ultra Wear, the Karen Glow. I'm torn on this because I do like this, but it's also very similar to others that I like more. Like, it's similar to Makeup Forever, it's similar to MAC Studio Radiance, similar to Chanel Le Beige. And the reality is I reach for those over this one. So I think, sadly, I am gonna declutter this. It's a pretty foundation, but it's just not, I don't know, it's not my favorite. I like it, but I don't love it. You know, I have others that are similar that I like more. So I'm gonna declutter. Okay, then I have Revlon Skin Caring Foundation, which I love. This is my favorite drugstore foundation. I think it's fabulous. I have two shades, 117 and 217. I can make either of these work, but I prefer 217. It's more neutral, almost leaning a little bit cooler in tone. 117 is a little bit lighter and it has a lot more yellow in it. But I find that I reach for 217 the most, always. Even when I'm more fair, I still make 217 work. So I'm gonna get rid of 117 and keep 217. If you have dry skin or more mature skin and you want something with a light medium coverage for every day, I love this. Nars Light Reflecting. I don't use it as much as I used to, but I still think this is a fantastic foundation. Beautiful, thin on the skin, lightweight, medium coverage. I wear the shade Deauville. I will say Deauville is not like a perfect match. I think it's the best one for me, just for my natural skin tone, but it's definitely not perfect. It's supposed to be neutral. It definitely leans warm. I am gonna keep it though, because I do still love it. So that one is a keep. All right, this one is painful, but I think I'm gonna declutter these. I want to love this foundation so bad, but I just don't. Every time I use it, I feel like it's just too much. It looks too heavy. I don't know what it is. I just feel like I can't get it to look like I want it to look. It always looks like too much to me. And I hate that because I love Mario and I love almost all of his products. But this one is just not my favorite. And I honestly don't have a great shade match either. I have shade 5N and 3W. 3W, the undertone's off for me, but the depth of the color is not bad. 5N, the undertone is better, but it's kind of dark. I want to make it work so bad. The only thing I haven't tried with this is like mixing it with something like a moisturizer, making a tinted moisturizer out of it, or something that's more like light coverage maybe, and trying it like that. But I never want to use these. So I'm definitely getting rid of 3W. I might keep 5N and play around with it a little bit more. Honestly, I might put this in like a almost declutter video. I think I've done this before when I've done declutters, where I'll keep a few products that I still feel unsure about, and I'll use them in a video and then make the decision. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do that with this, because I don't feel 100% confident in getting rid of both of them. So we're gonna put that one to the side for right now. And then Glossier Stretch Fluid Foundation, light number 2. I like this foundation. However, I tried this a few weeks before I tried this, and they're very similar, but I do prefer Makeup Forever, mainly because of the wear. This one just wears longer on me than this one, but the finish and the coverage is very similar. But I do like this one. I do like it. I don't want to get rid of it, but if I had to choose between this one and Makeup Forever, I would choose Makeup Forever. But I do like this one. I'm going to keep it. Now we have our second group here. These are going to be a little bit trickier. Some of them not so much, but a few of these are going to be kind of tricky. But let's start with obvious keeps again. We'll go with CL Tint and Protect. This is one of my favorite skin tints. It gives very good coverage for a skin tint. It's SPF 50, and I really, really like how this looks on my skin. I wear the shade light number 3. It does have the dropper applicator, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but it's not the worst dropper by any means. And light number 3 for my skin tone is a really good match. So that is a definite keep. Another definite keep, Chantecaille Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation. I love this foundation as well. It's very, 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 very skin-like. It looks like nothing on the skin, but it does provide a light medium coverage, I would say, at the most. I hate the packaging like everybody else, but I do think it's a beautiful product. I wear the shade Alabaster in this, and it's not perfect, but it's the closest one of the ones that they have. I don't love you have to stick your finger in it or use like a little applicator or something to get the product out, but it's beautiful, hydrating, very lightweight, very skin-like. It's an easy keep for me. What else is an easy keep? Patrick Ta Cream Foundation. I wear the shade light number 3 in this. Light number 3 is a little bit dark if I don't have any color at all. So right now it'd be a little bit dark, but usually I can make it work. I love the Patrick Ta Cream Foundation, but I like cream foundations in general. I don't reach for this on really hot days, or if you have really oily skin, this is probably not your favorite. It's a cream texture. So it looks like skin. It gives the most skin-like appearance to me because it is a cream, but it also, for that reason, can kind of move around a little bit, and it's not the best for like hot weather. So it's not an everyday for me, but I really enjoy it. So I will definitely keep. It does come with the powder as well. I don't use the powder as much. I don't dislike it, but I like the foundation more than the powder. But I will be keeping that. Let's talk about one I'm gonna get rid of. So we've got Maybelline Superstay 24-Hour Skin Tint. L'Oreal True Match Nude. These are very similar products. The finish, the coverage, very, very similar. However, I do prefer the Maybelline over the L'Oreal. First of all, the L'Oreal makes a huge mess, this dropper. This one also gets messy, the Maybelline one, but it's much less messy than the L'Oreal one. But I just prefer this one overall. I wear the shade 120 now. 120 is dark for me unless I have some self-tan on. So like right now, 120 is on the deep side. But if I have self-tan, this is a great shade. And I just prefer the look of this one on my skin. It's similar to this, but of the two, I like Maybelline more. So I'm gonna keep Maybelline and Declutter L'Oreal. Here's one I'm gonna keep. I'm actually almost out of this. There's not a ton left in here. L'Oreal, or not L'Oreal, Armani Luminous Silk in the shade number 5. This, you know, I've been back and forth with this over the years, to be honest. Sometimes I use it and I love it. And then other times I'm like, it's not like the greatest thing ever. But right now I'm in a phase of loving this product. I used this a few days ago. Forget what I was doing. I wasn't filming, but I just pulled this out and used it. And it just looked flawless on my skin. And the shade number 5 for me is a pretty spot on match for my skin tone. So this, you can see I do use it. It's very beat up and very well loved, but I'm going to definitely keep this and hopefully use it up because it's almost gone. I will also be keeping the Haus Labs foundation. This foundation is beautiful. I will say this shade I have is not my favorite. I have the shade 160. 160, it's kind of on the peachy side and it's a little bit dark. I wish it was just a little bit lighter, but I can use my white pigment with this from Haus Labs and it tones it down perfectly. So I don't love this shade on its own. I do have to use a mixer, but I do like this foundation. It's a medium coverage, very hydrating, and this is, of all the foundations I have, this one has probably the best ingredients of anything, truly. If you've never looked, look at the ingredients on this foundation. They have so many good skin ingredients in here, which is nice because that's not typical of foundations. This one, you can feel very good about putting this on your skin. I love that they put great things in it for you. Arnica, glycerin, hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, the list goes on. There's like 10 really good skin ingredients in here. So I do really like it. It's more than I would wear on a daily basis, but I'm still going to keep it. I do enjoy it. Next, from Fenty Beauty, the Soft Lit Luminous Foundation. This is the newest foundation from Fenty. I really like this as well. I don't love the shade. I have shade 230. This is supposed to have a neutral undertone. It most definitely does not have a neutral undertone. It is very warm, very leaning orange. So I have to mix this with something. I have to use my blue pigment and a little bit of the white pigment, honestly, if I don't have self-tan on. So it's definitely not a perfect shade, but I really like this and I can work with the shade. So not a perfect match, so don't go by my shade if you're around my skin tone. But this is a really pretty one. So very natural, medium coverage, natural finish. I should say a natural, slightly luminous finish. It's not typical like satin finish. It has a little bit more glow than that, but not a super dewy foundation. It's kind of in between glowy and satin, but I do like it. It's very pretty on the skin and I want to keep it. So we will work with the shade. Okay, I am going to declutter this one, and this really pains me. I want to love a Bare Minerals foundation so badly, but this one, the original Pure Serum foundation, this came out maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, and this is a very interesting texture. First of all, this is supposed to be light neutral. It is definitely not neutral. It is absolutely a warm undertone, number one. Sometimes I use this and it looks great. Other times I use it and it doesn't look great. It's a very, very thin, like watery texture. but I find that sometimes it wants to separate. Even right when you just pumped it out and you start kind of blending it on your hand, it doesn't, it's like the formula doesn't want to be one together. It wants to kind of separate, and I don't know if I don't know what causes that, but for that reason, depending on what you pair it with, sometimes it just does not lay right on my skin, and it's just annoying. And for that reason, I don't ever want to use it. So I could keep it, but I know I'm not going to use it for that reason. So we are going to declutter that. Sadly, I like Bare Minerals, but I do think that their liquid foundations are typically not the best. So I am going to get rid of that. Urban Decay Face Bond. This seems to be a very polarizing foundation. If you're not familiar with this one, I did get this one in PR. I like this, believe it or not. This is not something I thought I was going to like. It is very thin, very lightweight, and it's supposed to be waterproof. Like, it's not supposed to budge on your skin. I have heard from people with oily skin that that is not the case, that it does move around, it doesn't stay all day on them, but I've also heard people with oily skin say that it does wear well on them. My skin is normal, so I can't comment on the oily skin aspect of it, but what I will say is on my skin, the lasting power on this is incredible. It wears all day long. My one complaint with this, and it's not a huge deal, but it kind of is. Okay, if you don't blend this out incredibly fast, it starts to dry because it has setting powder setting powder is in the formula. So as soon as it hits the air, as soon as air comes in contact with this, it starts to dry down. And if you don't blend incredibly fast, it gets kind of patchy because in certain areas it started to dry down, so you can't blend it out. So that is my main complaint. And again, I think the shade range leans warm. This is supposed to be light neutral, number 10. That is not neutral. That is not neutral. That is a warm undertone. But I can make it work, and I like it enough that I kind of want to keep it. I could declutter it and buy a new one in a new shade, but I mean, I can make this work. And for me and my skin, like I said, my skin is normal. It wears well on me, but you gotta blend this out fast. Otherwise, you're gonna be really frustrated because it does start to dry and you cannot move it. So that's the thing, you have to blend it quickly and the shades run warm. But on my skin, it lasts well and I actually like how it looks. So I'm gonna keep it, but just keep those things in mind. Let's talk about another one I'm gonna get rid of, and this one makes me sad. The Hourglass Hydrating Skin Veil. I just don't get the hype on this. I do not get the hype. To me, this is a moisturizer with a little bit of pigment mixed in. And I'm talking a very, very, very small amount of pigment. I have the shade number 5. It's not a great shade for me, but I could make the shade work. I just feel like when I apply this, I'm just applying moisturizer, and I have 50 moisturizers. I really don't need another moisturizer. I want to love it so bad. I like the Hourglass concealer. I like a lot of Hourglass products, but I just can't. I can't make this work for me, and it makes me sad. I actually want to say I decluttered this the last time I did a declutter, and then I got weak at the end and I put it back in. But I still don't like it. I still don't like it. So it's gotta go. It's sad, but it's gotta go. If I'm not using it, what's the point, you know? Fenty Eavesdrop Skin Tint. This, okay, I can definitely use this up because this is it's very light. There's not much product in here. This used to be my top skin tint, and I've tried so many things in the last few years that I don't reach for it as much as I once did, but I still think this is a beautiful product. I wear the shade number 3, and shade number 3 is a very good match for me. I will buy this again though. When I do run out of it, I like it enough to repurchase it. And I like this because the finish of it kind of reminds me of my Holy Grail Double Wear Sheer. This one is a little bit more liquidy than this one. This one's a little bit thicker, but on the skin, they both have that kind of soft matte finish, which is hard to find in a skin tint like this. And again, the coverage is decent on this. It wears beautifully on me. I feel like this used to get more attention a few years ago, but no one really talks about it anymore. I don't know why, because this is a beautiful product. So that, yes, I will definitely be keeping. Okay, we're getting down to the ones I don't want to make a decision about. I save the ones I don't want to make the decision about till the end. Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Foundation. This has gorgeous packaging. And it's a pretty foundation. Again, I feel like I've never been able to find a good shade in this. This one is light number 5, and this is the closest. I had the same issue with the Pat McGrath concealer. I like the foundation. It's very, very thin. Like, do you see how thin that formula is? Very, very thin. Like, look at that. This is a pretty yellow shade. I don't know if it will come off on camera. It's definitely very yellow toned, and I never find myself wanting to use this. And I can't really explain why, other than it's just not a favorite. It's not a favorite, and if I'm not using it, I really don't want to keep it around. I mean, it's not a bad product. It's pretty, but I don't love it as much as the ones that I'm keeping. So I do think, sadly, I'm going to declutter that one. The Rare Beauty Tinted Moisturizer. This is another one that it's okay. I like it, but I don't love it as much as the other ones that I'm keeping. It's fine. Again, I wish you would expand the shades on this or change them. I think there are not many neutral undertones in this product either. They're either very warm or very cool. There doesn't seem to be much in between, especially in the lighter shades like the fair or the light shades. This one is shade 14W, and it's a pretty okay matte, just a little bit light for me, honestly. I kind of have that issue with Rare Beauty in general, actually. The light shades are really light, but then when you go to light medium to medium, they get significantly darker. This is just not a favorite for me. It's fine, but I think I could let it go. The new e.l.f. Soft Glam Foundation. I am going to keep this. I think this is a gorgeous foundation. I think they did a really good job with this. It is a true satin finish, which I love, and sometimes that's hard to find. I feel like I'm a broken record because I'm going to say this a lot, but again, the shades on these, I think, or the neutral shades, I should say, they run warm. They're not neutral. Like, this is supposed to be light neutral. This is not a neutral undertone. I don't care what you say. This is not, like, that is not neutral. That is warm. So I don't know. And I've looked at some of the other shades and they all seem to look like that. So I don't know. I do like this though, and it's newer. I want to keep it for video purposes, but I don't love the shade. I do think this is a pretty foundation though. So for now, I will keep. All right, the last 4 here I feel very undecided about. So I'm stalling because I don't know. I don't know what I want to do here. Like this, the Neutrogena Healthy Skin. Okay, yes, this is a beautiful foundation. It is. It's so nice. Oh, it's actually expired. So I guess that's my answer. This is shade Nude 40. This is actually a beautiful foundation. I wish they would make more shades because the shade range on Neutrogena in general is terrible. But their makeup is actually very good. And this is no exception. This is a very thin, lightweight formula. It's kind of on the natural side in terms of the finish. And it has SPF, which may or may not be a good thing to you. But this is very pretty and very underrated. The packaging sucks. There is no pump. There is no applicator at all. So you just kind of have to dump it out, which is not the best. And the shade range is not the best. And this is expired. But if you want a lightweight drugstore foundation and you want something with SPF and you can find a shade match. This is actually a very pretty foundation, but I will declutter it. The Surratt Dewdrop Foundation. This was sent to me in PR. And I use this and I like it when I use it, but it's not something I want to consistently reach for. And honestly, my only thought on that is the packaging. This is not, I get the point. It's dewdrop, so it's supposed to be like a dropper applicator. Like, I get all of that. This is shade number 3, I think. And it's a very pretty foundation. The packaging is not practical. It's very expensive. I got mine in PR, but I find myself not wanting to reach for it. And I think it's the packaging. Like, first of all, you're supposed to keep it sitting upright so all the product will flow through the applicator correctly. And it has this little button here that's supposed to help you dispense the product. But like, I'm not pushing the button and product is coming out. So I'm not a fan of the packaging, but it is so pretty, but I don't reach for it. I don't reach for it. So I think I'm gonna put this in the maybe decluttered pile with that Makeup by Mario foundation for right now. Cause I don't know. I feel like I need to use it again to really decide if I want it or not. Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint. This was also sent to me in PR. This is gonna sound kind of strange coming from me because I typically like glowier products, but this product is almost too glowy. When I use this, I look like I've just dipped my head or my whole face in like an oil vat or something. It is extremely glowy. Which makes sense because it has niacinamide, squalane, hyaluronic acid. It has a lot of hydrating ingredients in it. One thing I will say, I do not like the smell of this, and I just got like a whiff of it when I pumped this on my hand. It has a very odd smell, and yeah, I'm remembering that now. I'm just not a huge fan of it. It's a nice product. I don't think it's a terrible product by any means, but I think it's probably only going to work for those of you that have very dry skin or you like an ultra dewy skin product. I mean, you gotta like a lot of glow to use that. And I like a glow, but not that much. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter. And then the Kojando Moisture Foundation in the shade 113. This was ridiculously expensive, and I bought this because of a makeup artist that I love, and because she was raving about it. And it's good. Would I buy it again? Absolutely not. It was not worth the price in my opinion. It's nice, and it's definitely an interesting formula. It's a creamy, kind of like a liquid cream texture, but it has like a blurring quality to it, kind of like a setting powder is made into it. In fact, I want to say maybe that's part of the technology in this, now that I think about it. Kind of similar to Urban Decay, but Urban Decay dries much more quickly than this does. I don't know, I feel undecided about this, but honestly, I spent so much money on it, I really don't want to get rid of this until I use it up, because this was so expensive and I would not buy it again. I'm gonna keep it for now. All right, we got one more group. All right, last group. Purito BB cream. This is new to me. I've been using it though, and I really, really like this. I think I'm like the last person on earth to try this. I've tried the Misha BB cream, but this was my first time trying Purito, and I actually prefer the Purito one. It doesn't have the strong smell, and I'm actually wearing it right now. This is such a pretty product. I have been loving Purito in general. So that is an easy keep for me. Another easy keep, the Tom Ford Traceless Foundation Stick. I love this. I'm not really sure what's going on with this. I'm not sure if, I know for a while there was a rumor it was being reformulated or it was being discontinued. I'm not really sure whatever happened with that, but this shade is 1.5 cream. and it's a pretty good shade match for me. I do love this though. I don't use it a ton because this is kind of more of a made up foundation for me, which I don't use on a daily basis, but this is pretty, and I do love a cream foundation, so that is an easy keep. I also have the new Ilia Skin Rewind stick. This is very new to me, and I feel like I don't have my thoughts enough on this yet to really decide how I feel about it. I have the shade 9N in this one, and I bought this thinking it would be like a self-tan shade, which it is, and this is a decently neutral undertone. It is supposed to be neutral, and I think it's pretty neutral, so I want to hold on to this and keep using it because that's very, very new for me. Then I have this Jane Iredale Hydra Pure Serum. It's like a tinted serum. I loved this last year or last summer. I used this so much. But now that I have this, honestly, I prefer this, the Chanel Water Fresh tint. And I just don't think I need both. I like this significantly more. It's a similar look and feel in the skin. This one is a little bit thicker feeling. When you pump it out, it kind of turns to more of like a cream, not as watery as this one. But they're similar products, and I definitely prefer this. So I'm going to declutter that and, of course, keep my Chanel. Then I have the Fenty Blur Smooth Tint Stick. I think I'm actually going to declutter this. This is not a bad product, but I don't know. I never really fell in love with this one. This one was a little bit oily on me. I remember when I used it, almost a little too hydrating for like a stick. I think that's a good thing for some people, but I've never fallen in love with this. I definitely prefer the Eavesdrop, the original one, to this. And I don't love the shade I have either. I have shade 3 in this, which is interesting because 3 works well for me in the original Eavesdrop. It's very yellow in the stick. I don't know why, but I don't know. I feel like I can get rid of this. It's not a bad product, but it's definitely not a favorite for me. All right, and then I have 3 of the Merit sticks. I do like these. They're not my favorite, but I do like them. Now, this is more of like a foundation concealer stick. Merit is more minimalist. It's kind of supposed to be like a touch-up stick. I have a few of them. One of them they sent me in PR, and then the other 2 I did purchase myself. And I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. So I have 3 of them. One of them is the shade Linen, which is pretty light on me. I think I got this thinking I would use this kind of like in the center of my face to highlight or brighten. Then I have the shade Dune, which is there. Dune's probably the closest match. Then I have a Crew, which is this one. A Crew, I'm not a fan of the color at all. It's kind of like a yellowy, peachy tone. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that shade. So I think I will definitely declutter that one. And I think I'll keep these 2 because these 2, Linen and Dune, I can work with, especially kind of together. So I think I will keep those. I don't use these all the time, but I do like them. Like, I don't want to get rid of them. So I'm going to keep 2 and declutter 1. That formula is much more of a drier cream formula. So if you have oily skin, you would probably like this stick. And if you don't have oily skin, you want to make sure you really prep and hydrate your skin before you use this because it is a little bit on the dry side. Janessa Myricks Yummy Skin Serum Skin Tint. I'm going to declutter this. I'm not crazy about this. I thought when I bought it, it was going to give a little bit more coverage than it gives. I'm not a huge fan of the color. It's too glowy in my opinion, like a little bit overboard with the glow. And I don't love it. Every time I use it, I wish I didn't. That's my clue, that this is just not my favorite thing. I think if you have dry skin, you might like it. But it's very glowy and it gives very little coverage, in my opinion. I've heard some people say they thought this gave a lot of coverage, And I'm confused because on me, this definitely did not give a lot of coverage and is not a favorite. So that's an easy declutter for me. Also going to declutter Dermablend CC Cream. This is a good product. It's just not something that I use often. Like I said earlier, I don't use a ton of full coverage products. The older I get, I just don't want that on my skin often at all. And this has SPF 50, which is great if you're looking for that and you're looking for a lot of coverage, but this is just not something that I use anymore. It is a nice product though. If you're looking for something like this is nice. It's like the It Cosmetics CC cream. So if you like that, you would probably like this. But I am gonna go ahead and let that go. I think I got that on like a really good sale one time at Ulta. And it's just not what I reach for. Now, if I'm gonna use a fuller coverage and I want a CC type cream, this is the one I will use. Yensa Skin on Skin. This does give a ton of coverage, but if I go for that, this is the one I want. This is the better version of It Cosmetics CC cream. It's better than this, in my opinion. It's beautiful. High coverage though, so if you're not looking for that, you definitely won't like this. But if you are, of all the CC high coverage creams, Yensa is the best one. I wear the shade Light Neutral in this, although it is a little bit light on me, unless I am like fair. In the dead of winter, this is a good match for me. But in the summertime, Light Neutral is a little bit light. I guess I'll pump a little bit on the back of my hand. So that is shade Light Neutral. You can probably tell there, it's definitely a little bit light, but it is really beautiful. Great coverage. Has a scent though, a pretty strong one. So if you don't like scent, you won't like this. And we're down to 3, the final 3. Tower 28 Sunny Days. I really like this. I will be keeping it. This is a darker shade in 35. I can use this when I self-tan. It's dark when I'm not self-tanned, which I'm not right now. But if I am self-tanned, I do like this. This is SPF 30. Gives like a light medium coverage. It's pretty glowy. So if you don't like a glow, you might not love this. But when I use it, I do really like this. It's a good tinted moisturizer. I would definitely recommend it. So that one I will be keeping. I will be decluttering the Nars Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer. I can remember a long time ago really liking this, but the last few times I have used it, I just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me anymore. I definitely prefer this from Tower 28, and they're very similar products, but I don't know, something about the look of this on my skin I wasn't crazy about. This is shade Gotland 1.2, and I don't know, it's just, I can't really explain it other than it's just not my favorite tinted moisturizer, and it's also on the old side. So I will declutter that. And one final thing, the Dr. Jart BB Beauty Balm with SPF 40. I do like this. I will be keeping this. It's similar product to like the Dermablend CC, but it has less coverage. It's definitely not full coverage. I would say this is like a light medium. And I do like it. I do like it. It kind of reminds me of the Purito BB cream, but this one has SPF. This one does not, but I like this. This is the type of product I would use on a daily basis because it's not heavy and it gives coverage, but not too much. I like it. I want to use this more actually. I need to put this maybe in my everyday makeup drawer. And that is it. Let me count them up and I will give you the numbers. All right, I started with 53. Didn't get rid of a ton, but I am decluttering 18, so I'm happy with that. I mean, I love foundation, and I'm never gonna have a small foundation collection because I love them. It's one of my favorite things to try, but I feel good about all the ones I'm getting rid of. So we're getting rid of 18 and keeping 35. Let's Move on to concealer. I'm just gonna start with these. I could probably fit a few more out here, but we're gonna start with these and then I'll move the rest of them in. I haven't counted them yet, so I'll count them at the end and let you know the numbers, but we'll start with these and I'm gonna do the same thing and pick the ones that are easy, that I know are staying. If you know me, you know these are definitely staying. Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer. This is my favorite concealer, truly. I love it so much. I have 3 of them. I have N2, RN3, and N9. The one I use the most is N2. This is pretty spot on shade match for me, just for my fair skin tone. I like RN3 for under my eyes. It's a little bit more pink, so I like that because it has that pinky tone that helps with darkness. And then I also have N9. This I use when I have self-tan on, and I'll like use this on the outer portion of my face. But there are the 3 shades that I have, and these are just my favorite. They have a ton of coverage, but they're very thin on the skin. I love it all over as foundation. I can't say enough good things, and I won't talk about it anymore because I don't talk about that concealer all the time, but those are obviously definite keeps. Another definite keep, the Kosas Revealer Concealer. This I tried a long time ago, but I recently got it in one of the new shades, which is 2.6C, and this is a really good shade match for me. It's actually, I would say, more on the neutral side, even though it's a cool undertone. But actually, I've really been enjoying this concealer much more than I used to, and I think it's the shade match, honestly. Very creamy and hydrating. Under the eyes, it looks really nice. It's not too hydrating and not too glowy, but it has a really nice natural kind of skin finish when you blend it out. I really like it in 2.6, so that I definitely will be keeping. Another definite keep is the Fenty We're Even Concealer. I have the shade 200C in this concealer, and this, I think this is a very underrated concealer. It's a very thin texture, like very, very thin, and it's pretty hydrating, but it gives very good coverage, and it just looks nice under the eyes. It looks very skin-like. It never looks heavy on my face or under my eyes. I really, really like this formula. FYI on the shades, I personally think they run a little bit light, so that's why I have shade 200C. The lighter shades, so the ones that are in like the 100 range, those all run super light in my opinion when I've looked at the colors. So that's why I have shade 200, but I really, really like this formula. I actually love the doe foot on this one too. I don't know why, but I really like this small kind of chunky doe foot, and it's also angled so it fits really well right under your eye. I love this one. So that is an easy keep. One I am going to declutter is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I've purchased this numerous times because I want to like it, but it's just not a favorite. It's a little too much for me. It's very heavy, and I know it's the hydrating version, but it's just not, I don't know. I've just never fallen in love with it. I've tried it so many times. I've tried the original as well, and I'm not a huge fan of that one either. It's just a little bit too much for me. So this I am going to get rid of. It's honestly very similar to Shape Tape, but I actually prefer the Ultra Creamy Shape Tape, which is what this one is. This little mini in the shade 22B. If I'm going to use a concealer like that with a lot of coverage, I really like this one, and I'm going to keep this little mini one from Tarte. But I'm not a huge fan of the e.l.f. one, but I will keep this little mini. We'll also be keeping this, the Iris and Romeo Best Skin Days Concealer in the shade number 4. This I just got, so I've only used this one time, and I need to test it out some more, but I have the shade number 4. This I got at Credo recently, and supposedly it has like skincare ingredients. It's supposed to be good for dark spots. It has niacinamide, vitamin C, a lot of skincare in it, so I'm gonna keep it. I did wear this all day yesterday, and by the end of the day, it did not look great, I'm not gonna lie. And I am really wondering, okay, this looks way darker now that I've gotten it home than it did in the store when I swatched the shade number 4. So I almost wonder if I got, like, it oxidizes in the component or something, because I know this one was lighter and it was very neutral looking. And now at home it looks dark and warm. So I don't know. I made it work yesterday with the rest of my makeup, but I'm not sure about this formula, but it's so new, I am going to keep it. I will be keeping these. This is in my top 2 drugstore concealer choices. This one and one more that we'll get to in a minute. The True Skin serum, or not serum, True Skin High Cover Concealer from Catrice. I love this so much. I have 2 of them. The one I use the most is this one, which is number 10 in Cool Cashmere. It's a really nice, it's supposed to be a cool undertone. I think it's more neutral, to be honest, but this is a gorgeous concealer. Gives great coverage. Honestly, kind of reminds me of the Natasha Denona concealer. I love it though, and I love this shade in number 10. I also have the shade Cool Rose number 18. This one is a little bit darker, and it's much more peachy. As you can see there, it's like a totally different undertone. I don't really love this color. I'm actually going to declutter this. I'm not a huge fan of this color. It's very orangey, peachy, like, I don't know if you'll be able to tell there. And I don't use it often. I could maybe use this for like self-tan, but I feel like I won't use that. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter that shade. I am also gonna declutter this Physicians Formula Butter Glow Concealer. I know a lot of people really liked this actually when it came out, but this is just not my favorite. It was fine, it was okay. I didn't think it was bad, but it was nothing that like blew me away, nothing that made me want to choose this over a lot of the other concealers that I have. It's very thin and lightweight. It gives, I would say, like a light medium coverage, and it's not bad, but it's not my favorite. And it has the very, very strong Physicians Formula smell. If you don't like that, you definitely won't like that concealer because it's very, very strong. So I am going to get rid of that one. I will definitely be keeping the Haus Labs concealer. I have 2 of them. I have shade 11 and shade 12. 12 is more of a pinky undertone. I like that more for under my eyes. And shade 11 is, I would say, neutral, leaning slightly warm, but it's not like orangey warm. I love this concealer though. This is in like my top 5 concealers. I really enjoy this. It's kind of a thicker, tackier formula, but it gives, I would say, like a medium coverage. It's not quite as much coverage as like the Natasha Denona, but I really like the formula on this. It's very satisfying. I like how thick it is, and not thick in a bad way. It's just like a tackier kind of a gel formula. But I really like it, and I really like it all over my skin as well, just like used as foundation. So that was shade number 11, and this one is shade number 12. It's a little bit more pink that I really like for under my eyes because I have a lot of blue and purple tones there, and that works really well. So those are definite keeps. Let's talk about one I'm going to get rid of, but not because I don't like it, but just because it is old. Like, this needs to go. I've had this for way too long. The NYX Bare With Me Serum Concealer. This is the other top concealer from the drugstore that I was talking about earlier. This one is just super old. Like, this is multiple years old at this point, and I would like to get a new one, and I definitely will because I love this formula so much. This is the shade Vanilla, and I'm telling you, I love this from the first time I tried it, and I still think it's top drugstore quality makeup. So Highly recommend this from the drugstore. Even if you want to use this as foundation, I love this product used that way too. It's so thin and it's very just lightweight, very skin-like. It doesn't look heavy. It's really a beautiful formula. The only thing I don't like about it is I wish it had a doe foot and not a pump. I just find I don't use products with pumps as often just because they have a pump and it's not super convenient. But other than that, I have nothing bad to say about this. I think this is one of the best on the market. Hands down, I will be repurchasing a new one. Okay. Flower Beauty Get Real Serum Concealer. This is a good concealer. It's similar, I would say, to the NYX one. I definitely prefer the NYX over this one, but the texture is similar. This one's a little bit thicker than the NYX one, and I have the shade Light in this, and it's good, but I would rather repurchase the NYX. I'm not going to keep both because I just know I'm going to reach for the NYX if I'm going for this type of concealer. This one's not bad. I like it, but it's not like a top favorite for me. I definitely prefer NYX, so I will be decluttering that one. Moving along, we're getting to some that are a little bit more difficult. Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. Okay. I am going to declutter these, but it's because they're old. These are extremely old. I got one out to use it a few days ago and I was like, that seems a little bit iffy to me. I mean, honestly, they might be okay and I'd probably be fine if I use them, but I would like to replace at least one of these. So I have the shade Madeline and Creme Brulee. Madeline is more supposed to be neutral, but it definitely leans yellow. And then Creme Brulee is more of like a pinky peachy tone. I do actually really like this concealer. I think this is a good one. I would like to continue with this in my collection. I just think I know I've had these for a really long time and they probably need to go, but I do like these and I will repurchase them for sure at some point. It's a classic for a reason. It's a nice medium coverage, kind of like a whipped texture. It's a very different formula, but I really do like them and I will definitely buy again, but I am going to go ahead and get rid of those because I can kind of smell them now and they're on the old side, so they need to go. The Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Concealer I will definitely be keeping. I love this concealer. I use the shade 201 and truly this is a formula you really don't need to powder. It's like the strangest thing. It's called self-refreshing and it truly is self-refreshing under your eyes. It's so weird. Like even if you look throughout the day and maybe you have a little bit of creasing, you can kind of take your finger with this formula and just pat it a little bit and it kind of like re-emulsifies the concealer a little bit. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very unique formula and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I think it's highly underrated. I feel not many people talk about this from Shiseido, but it's a beautiful formula and I love it. So I definitely want to keep it. I wear the shade 201. I will also be keeping the Lancome Tint Idol Ultra Wear Concealer. I use the shade Buff. And this is a gorgeous concealer. I actually pulled this out the other day and used it all over my face, just like a foundation. And I was reminded how good this is. It's such a creamy, hydrating, thin formula, which that is what I like in a concealer typically on a daily basis. So this is the shade Buff 215. And I love it. It's beautiful under the eyes, beautiful on the face as well. It's not a high coverage concealer. It's a lighter medium, not even a full medium in my opinion. It's a little bit, not sheer, but it's definitely not as pigmented as a lot of the others. Like definitely not even close to like the Natasha Denona or even the Haus Labs concealer. This one's a little bit more sheer, but it's a gorgeous, just everyday concealer and I definitely want to keep it. I am actually going to declutter this Colby concealer and I'm shocked because I know a lot of people just love this one. And I don't think it's bad. I definitely don't think it's bad at all. It's just not something that I ever really want to use and I can't really explain it. I think it's fine. but I don't know. I can't say that there's anything super special about it. It's a solid, just medium coverage, lightweight concealer, but I don't know. The times I've used it, I didn't feel like it wore that great under my eyes in comparison to some of my others. I don't know. I just feel like I could definitely be without this one and not miss it. So I am going to declutter that one. The Maybelline Age Rewind Concealer. I have the shade 121. I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but this is one thing I have never gotten on board with this. I wanted to get on board with it, but I just never have. And I can't really explain why. I just don't love it. I don't know. I don't love it. First of all, I don't love this sponge tip applicator. I find it very difficult to put the concealer where I want it under my eyes with this big, like, fuzzy applicator. I know you can take that off and put it on your hand and then put it on. I don't like it enough to do that. And every time I try using it, I just don't love it. It's just not a favorite for me. I don't know why, because I know a lot of people love it, but it's just not my favorite. So I'm going to get rid of that. The Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. This is a concealer that I like, but I don't love it on its own. I like to mix it with something else. This is the shade 5, which I love this shade. It's a really beautiful, truly neutral shade, which is very hard to find. But I wish this concealer had just a little bit more coverage to it, and that's why I like to mix it with something. But I am going to keep it because I don't mind mixing it. I love the formula. It's so, I mean, it's like the Luminous Silk foundation. It has that really pretty silky texture. The concealer has the same texture as the foundation. And I like it. It doesn't give me enough coverage on its own, but I like it enough that I want to keep it and mix it. But if you're looking for full coverage, that's definitely not it. Okay, I feel very torn on these last two. Okay, the Mario Concealer. This one pains me so bad. I want to like this, but most of the time when I use it, I'm not crazy about it. The shade is definitely a little bit on the light side, and this concealer is self-setting, so it dries very quickly. You have to blend very, very quickly, and I do find it can look a little bit dry. So I have the shade 160, and I think this is the best shade for me, honestly. I wish he would come out with more shades because I do think the shade range needs a little bit of work. But I kind of want to keep it and try it a little bit more. Maybe I'll put this in the maybe pile, like we put the Makeup by Mario foundation in the maybe pile. I think I might keep it for right now, and we'll maybe put it in the declutter, get ready with me video where I make these final decisions that I'm struggling with. And then the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer, this is shade 30 NN. I don't know why I feel torn about this one, because I really liked this for a long time, but I don't find myself wanting to use it as much now. Yeah, we're gonna keep that. I feel like I need to get this out and use this more. I feel like I've definitely been neglecting it. Okay, so that is group number 1. Let me get the rest. Moving into almost all of the rest of my concealers. I have like 4 more, but they're like potted concealers that we'll do at the very end. Okay, let's go ahead and start. We'll do the easy ones first. Chanel Sublimage Concealer. Yes, of course, I will keep this. I haven't had this for a really long time. I have this shade 20 in this. I hate the packaging. Like, look at this mess. But it's so pretty. I will deal with the packaging, but yeah, the packaging, I would give anything if they would change it. But shade 20, this is like a concealer and an eye cream had a baby in the best way. It is so pretty under the eyes, also pretty on your face. But yeah, this is the most expensive concealer I own, the most expensive concealer I've ever tried. And I do think you know, is it worth the price? That's going to be up to you. I don't regret buying it. It's $105. Yes, $105. And I don't regret it. I'll say that. I think it's beautiful, but yeah, it's pricey. And there are others here that I also love that are not $105, but I do think if you spend the money on it, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I'll say that. Another easy one, Tower 28 concealer. Now this one is interesting because when I first tried this concealer, I was actually not a huge fan of it. But the more I used it, the more I started liking it, and now I really, really like it. And one thing I have to say about this while we're on this concealer is I am so impressed with Tower 28 because they actually made a very good shade range with this concealer, including true neutral undertones. This shade in DTLA, one of the most neutral undertones I've ever seen in a concealer. Natasha Denona as well. But this, finally, a neutral undertone in a concealer, and a good concealer, which is amazing. Then I have K-Town, which is also a gorgeous neutral undertone. It's just darker. This I only use when I self-tan. I'll like put this on the outer portions of my face and this one kind of in the center. And then CC is the other one that I have. This is the lightest one, and it's more of like a brightening shade for me. Sometimes I mix this with DTLA. That one's a little bit more yellow than these two. But this is a gorgeous medium coverage concealer. Very, very thin formula, but very pigmented. It's very unusual to find this much pigment in a concealer that's this thin in formula. It's a really nice medium buildable coverage concealer. This is another one I love all over my face. So yes, this is an easy keep. That's in my like top 5 concealers for sure. Another easy keep for me is Nars Soft Matte Concealer. This is such a unique product. There's nothing else like this on the market, in my opinion. If you have blemishes of any kind, anything that you really want to cover, but you just can't find something to cover it, it's always showing through, try this if you haven't already. It's a matte concealer and it's a cream, but it's not heavy or dry looking, but it has a lot of coverage. It's kind of like a velvety texture almost. But if you have something that you need to cover, this will cover it. This will cover it. It's very pigmented, so you do not need a lot of it. This is just a product that everybody should have in their makeup bag. I don't have acne prone skin, and I don't have a lot of blemishes, but I do get the occasional blemish here and there, like everybody does. And this is just a necessary product for those times. This is shade Madeline. I also have the shade Custard that's a little bit darker. This one I'll use if I'm a little bit darker. And I also like to have a little bit of a deeper shade in something like this because you don't ever want to put something that's too light on a blemish because that will just make it look worse. You might as well just not put anything on it at all. So I always like to have something that's a little bit on the darker side. So that's why I have 2. But yeah, this is a product I would never be without. I think everyone needs one of those. All right, then I have the Jane Iredale concealer. These are the Pure Match liquid concealers. These were sent to me in PR a while ago. And they're fine, but this is not a favorite. There's nothing super special about it. This shade is way too light. This is shade 2N, and you can see it's like very, very light. So that I'm definitely going to declutter. This is the best shade for me, which is 4N. And I think it's good, but it's not anything, there's nothing special about it. It's similar in terms of the texture to like the Tower 28 concealer, but I prefer the Tower 28. The Tower 28 has a little bit more pigment and I just like it better. I don't really see myself using this much. I don't know. I think I can let it go. If I'm really that undecided, I should probably let it go. Let's talk about some I'm going to get rid of. These Shape Tape Radiance. Yeah, I think I liked the idea of this, but these actually have like little flecks of shimmer in them if you look really, really close. And the coverage is not great. They're very sheer. I don't know. I prefer, honestly, the creamy version of Shape Tape if I'm gonna go that route. That was shade 22B, I believe, or 20B. And it's a good shade. I also have 22 in, and yeah, I had such high hopes for these, but they're just not, I don't know. I don't think they were a great launch personally, and I don't really want glitter or shimmer under my eyes. So I am gonna go ahead and declutter those. All right, the Hourglass concealer. This one, I actually have another one of these. Hold on. I just realized I have a few more concealers in my everyday makeup drawer. So I have two Hourglass concealers. I have shade Silk and shade Cedar. Cedar is my favorite shade. I actually repurchased this recently because I ran out of mine a while ago, and I don't know, I missed having the shade Cedar. This is a very nice concealer if you like a lot of coverage and you hydrate well, because this is a little bit of a drier formula if you don't hydrate your skin well. So I would say that, and it's so pigmented that you need very little. I would say the same thing about the Natasha Denona concealer, but that one is shade Cedar, that is shade Silk. I really like them though, and I do want to keep these, so those are staying. The Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer, this used to be a favorite, but I never use this one anymore. It's okay. This is shade 27N Coconut Flakes, and it's decent shade for me. Oh my gosh, these Huda concealers, do you see what just happened? That just like got all over my desk. It like spilled out of here. That is something that drives me nuts about this concealer. The correctors are the same way. They make a huge mess, just a mess. And for that reason, I'm definitely gonna go ahead and declutter the concealer. I love the corrector and I like the concealer as well, but I don't like it enough to keep it. It's also on the older side. It's a decent formula, but I don't know. The packaging on those Huda concealers and correctors, they just make a mess. It drives me nuts. So I am gonna go ahead and declutter that. I could see myself maybe at some point buying another one of these in a different shade maybe. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let that go for right now. I am definitely gonna keep the Tom Ford Traceless Matte Concealer. I love this. This has been in my everyday makeup drawer this month. And this is such a good cream concealer. It reminds me so much of the Tom Ford Traceless Matte or the Traceless Foundation Stick. This is basically that, but just in a concealer. But I love it. This is another concealer that looks really pretty all over your face. I've done that many times this month since it's been in my everyday makeup drawer, and it's so pretty. And it's not too glowy, it's not too dry. It's a really nice natural, I would say like a softer matte finish concealer. But I love it. The coverage is great, so that one I will definitely keep. The L'Oreal True Match Concealer, I am gonna definitely declutter this. I've tried this a few times. Not a fan, just not a fan of this at all. Very little coverage. It kind of separated on me under my eyes. Like by the end of the day, this had really kind of broken up under my eyes, and the coverage wasn't great to begin with. This one is in shade C2, and I was hoping so bad that this was gonna be like a good drugstore concealer, but this was just not a favorite for me, so that is definitely gonna go. The MAC Studio Fix. I just got this from my full face of MAC video, if you saw that. And I've only used this that one time for the video, so I am gonna keep this. I will say I was not a huge fan of this. It did not wear great on me. The coverage is pretty sheer, and what's interesting to me is online this says it's a medium to full buildable coverage. Yeah, I would say absolutely not. This is definitely not even close to a full coverage. Definitely like a light medium, I would say. And I don't know, it just did not wear well. I feel like you can tell there, like even as I swatch it, you can like see through the swatch. So I'm not sure where they're getting full coverage or even like a fuller medium coverage. I would say probably not, but this is shade NW22 and I'm going to keep it, play around with it some more, but my first impression of it was not great, but I'm going to keep it and keep trying it out. The new Tarte Creaseless Creamy Concealer. This is shade 22N. I purchased this when I bought the new creaseless correctors, and I do like this. I prefer the correctors of the two. I like the correctors more, but this was not bad. The coverage is decent, not a full coverage. I would say it's on the lighter end of a medium coverage, and it does crease. So don't let the name fool you. I know it's creamy creaseless. If you have creases, it's going to crease. It's not the creasiest concealer I've ever used, but just keep that in mind. If you have creases, like it's going to crease. So that, yeah, don't fall for that advertising, but it is a nice concealer and I have enjoyed it so far. So I will hang on to that one. Okay, the Surratt Dewdrop concealers. These were sent to me in PR a while ago, and to be totally honest, I have tried these like twice and I wasn't crazy about it either time. They also have that sponge tip applicator and I just got a lot out, but they're very, very sheer and I don't know, just not anything great in my opinion, but I also kind of think it's unfair because I do know that I've given this not many chances at all. So that was shade number 3. And let's see, I think 3 is definitely the better match for me. Yeah, this one in shade 2 is definitely a little bit on the light side. I'm definitely going to declutter shade number 2. I'm just not sure if I want to keep shade number 3 because again, like I don't use concealers with this type of applicator here. Do you remember the Charlotte Tilbury concealer that was like this? I think they discontinued it. What was the name of that concealer? I can't even think of it now, but I'm going to put Surratt in the maybe pile with the Makeup by Mario because I just don't feel certain about that one. Speaking of Charlotte Tilbury, the Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer. This one has been such like a roller coaster for me because at first I didn't like it. Then I started liking it. Then I kind of didn't like it. And now I just don't reach for it at all. And I don't know. I don't really know why. I'm going to switch hands here. This one, it is a good shade. I will give it that. Shade number 4. This formula, honestly, you know what it kind of reminds me of is the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. It's kind of that whipped, almost like a cream texture. I'm going to hang on to this. I think this is one that needs to get more attention from me. I'm going to hang on to that one. Laura Mercier Real Flawless Concealer. Okay, I feel very undecided about this. This is very similar, like very, very similar. Even the doe foot is similar to this one, the Flower Beauty Get Real. They are so similar. It's kind of crazy. The applicator, the formula, the coverage, they're very, very similar. But I never want to use this. I never want to use it, but I don't know why. God, concealer is so hard. Okay, I'm gonna keep that one for now. I don't feel like I can get rid of that. Okay, the Givenchy Prisme Libre Skin Caring Concealer in the shade C180. I am gonna keep this. This is very, very, very similar to the Lancome, the Tint Idol Ultra Wear. And it also kind of reminds me of Armani Luminous Silk. especially because of the coverage level. One thing about this one, I love the color. I like the formula. I wish it had more coverage. So this is another one, kind of like the Armani, that I like to mix with something else. I don't love it on its own just solely for the coverage purpose. I like something with more coverage for under my eyes because I need coverage there. And I also prefer concealers with more coverage because typically on a daily basis, I use a very light coverage base product, and then I rely on concealer for the coverage where I need it. So for that reason, that's why I like concealers that have at least a medium coverage typically. But this is a really pretty formula and I love the shade. So I'm gonna hang on to this and I can definitely mix it, but it is on the lighter coverage side. I would say like a light medium coverage concealer. And finally, the Gucci concealer. This has a very long name. The Concentré Débute Multi-Use Longwear Buildable Concealer. Very, very long name. I have 25 in and 21 in, I believe. 25 in is dark, but it's a good shade for self-tan, and it actually is neutral, which I get very excited when I find an actual neutral undertone in a concealer. And then shade 21 in, is that right? Yeah, 21 in is a better match. It's lighter, and again, it's more neutral. This is not my favorite concealer. It's not in my top concealers. It's okay. It's good, not great. There's nothing super special about it. Well, the packaging is special, but that's not super important. But I love this little floral packaging. It just makes me happy. But it's not a favorite concealer. However, these were expensive and I like them enough to continue using them. So I'm gonna keep them, but it's not like a top favorite for me. All right, we are almost done with concealer. Okay. Technically, these two aren't even really concealers. They're like eye brighteners. I'm gonna keep them in here anyways, but all right. So we have the original Bare Minerals concealer in the shade Summer Bisque. Oh, Bare Minerals. This is another product that I have purchased numerous times thinking that I'm gonna like it. And then I always end up getting rid of it, and then down the road, I'll like buy it again. I just don't think this is for me. I really don't. I like a liquid concealer under my eyes, and I know this was like one of their cult favorites for a while. I don't hear anyone talk about it much anymore, but I don't know. This is just, it's just not my thing. So I'm gonna declutter that. Glossier Stretch Concealer. As you can see, this does not get used. This is the shade 11, or G11. And this was before they reformulated. So this is not the new version. I mean, I think they reformulated. I know they expanded the shades when Glossier went in Sephora, but I don't know if it was reformulated or not. But this is something else that I just never, I don't know, I've never fallen in love with this. But then I hear like Katie Jane Hughes, she just goes on and on about this concealer. She uses it like a tinted moisturizer. And I do feel like I haven't given it very much time at all. So I think Glossier is gonna stay for now. And finally, we have the Nars Light Reflecting Eye Brighteners. Okay, here's the thing. This is a great formula, but I don't like the colors. I wish so bad, like, do you see how warm they are? Like, why can't we get this formula in a true peachy pink? Like, I think these are so nice. And if these tones work for you, this is a really, really nice, creamy formula for under the eyes. They're supposed to be like eye brighteners. I kind of used them or thought of them as more like color correcting brighteners, but I have the shade Night Swan, which is there, and Golden Eye, which is there. Night Swan, I believe, is the lightest shade, and then Golden Eye is the second lightest shade. I definitely don't want this one, Goldeneye. It's just way too yellow. It just, I don't like something that yellow under my eyes. So that is a definite no. I'm tempted to keep this one, but I know the color is just not, it's just not my favorite. So Nars, if you are ever listening to this, I'm sure you're not, but if you are, could you please make this product in peachier or pinkier undertones? Because I think this is a fantastic formula, but you need more shades that don't lean warm. So we're gonna get rid of that, and that is all for concealer. So let me count everything up and I will give you the numbers. All right, these are the ones I'm getting rid of. So we started with 52, yes, 52 concealers. I know, I have a lot, okay? I love concealer. We are keeping 33 and we are decluttering 19, which not a ton, but I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I feel good about all of these that I'm getting rid of. I don't see anything here that is like stressing me to get rid of, so I think that's good.